So regardless when you're importing your files from your camera's SD card, external hard drive, or from your mobile phones, you're not physically taking that image and putting it into the program, but rather you're building a database of references to where that image is located on your file system or a connected map drive somewhere. Now, this is important because if you start shuffling around files outside of Lightroom, it can cause problems. Lightroom won't be aware of those location changes, so before importing your images, it is a good practice to not put the images on a local disk for the simple fact that you're eventually going to run out of room on your local disk and need an external hard drive. So I recommend working with an external hard drive right out of the gate. I'm not saying you can't use your local storage, but you are editing photos for a living, or if you're taking this serious or as a business, it's better to be safe than sorry. So take your images folder and put it in an external hard drive. And when you import your image into Lightroom, you'll be referencing a DOS image from the external hard drive. This makes working inside of Lightroom a lot easier, and to plan this out beforehand makes your overall experience in Lightroom far more enjoyable. So what you want to do is, in an ideal setup, is to keep your data files on your local computer and then keep all of your image assets on an external hard drive. And in this way, it's away from your computer so that if something goes wrong with your computer, you're safe. Your files are backed up in a different location. But with the latest Lightroom CC, you are automatically synced in the Adobe cloud. You're backing up your data to their servers. So if your office blows up, for example, or again, if your information is stored offsite, you can easily have your photos safe. But then, like I said, the images or videos themselves should be stored on an external hard drive so that you can still work on your photos inside a Lightroom even if there is no internet. Also, that doesn't mean you shouldn't back them up. So you probably need yet another hard drive to back up your external hard drive of images. So it can easily get out of control. So just make sure to plan this out. Aside from that, expanding your storage in Adobe Cloud can also be quite expensive. So it is still ideal to use external hard drive for storing your photos. So spend a little bit of time planning in terms of where you're going to place your files and how you're going to back up your files. So now to start off, we can simply import photos. You can notice that I already have photos in here. So don't be surprised if you see some photos on your first time opening the application because it might just be some photos syncing in from your mobile app. Now to start importing photos, you can simply click on this Add Photos button here, or you can go to the File menu, and from the File menu, you can click on Add Photos. Control Shift I or Command Shift I is the keyboard shortcut. So once you click that, the system file browser will open up. And from here, you can choose your destination folder on where your photos is located. So in here, I have it in the tutorial assets folder. So you can use it if you want to. So you can choose individual photos and click on a review for import, or you can simply click on the choose folder button. At that point, Lightroom will just load up and you'll notice that there is a one photo that's grayed out. This means that this is a duplicate photo and it will not include it on the photos that will be imported inside the program. At this point, you can also choose which photos that you want to include. So the files that you can import into Lightroom vary quite a bit in terms of the format. So you could have something like a JPEG, which is a fairly universal format. You could also have a TIFF file, a PSD file, which is a native Photoshop file. You could also have PNG files, and there's all sorts of different RAW files that you have the ability to import into Lightroom. Now, typically when working with these RAW files, there will be a corresponding XMP file. This is oftentimes referred to as a sidecar file, and this file contains meta information about the photograph. Another file that you may run into is a DNG file. which is an open source digital negative file created by Adobe. The nice thing about the DNG file is it combines both the image and this sidecar file. So you only have one file per image. It is also a good practice to spend a little bit of time organizing your image in a way that makes sense to you before you start importing them into Lightroom. I will say this as well, not only you can work with various image formats, you can also work with various video formats. So if you have something like QuickTime Movie, you can bring that up inside a Lightroom. So at this point, I want to include all of these photos here. So I'll just leave everything checked. And you can see up here that we can create an album out of it. So if we click this drop down right now, we don't have any other album, so we can just click on new. So I'll just type in tutorial 1 and we can click on create. At that point, there is nothing left for us to do but to just click on the add 5 photos. So if I click that, it will add it inside our application. Now if I just collapse this, we'll be able to see our albums in here. And you can see that it's kind of syncing out to the Adobe Cloud. And if we look at the upper right part area here, if I click this, you'll be able to see that Lightroom is syncing these photos to our Adobe Cloud storage. And at that point, we can use this same photos to any other Adobe application. I just want you to be aware that Adobe Lightroom is uploading these files in full resolution. So depending on how large the resolution or the file size is, it may just take time. But then you can use these files on other Adobe application without worrying about the quality of the photos. So now that we have all of the photos here, you can easily navigate through them by clicking each of these photos in the film strip. So you can also go here on the all photos, and from here you can easily set it or sort it out by date. So you notice that I have different folders in here or different categories in here. So we have one for 2023, 2015, 2011, and 2010. So Adobe Lightroom will scan each of these images and use the information inside of it to sort it out inside the program. So there you have it. That's how you can easily import images or files inside Adobe Lightroom. Now I just want you to keep in mind that when Adobe Lightroom uploads this to the Adobe Cloud storage, it is replicating every bit of information about this image, and it's not in any way reducing the quality of it. So it serves as an original on your cloud storage. So whether it be you're backing up your files on the Adobe Cloud or you're using your external hard drive, your images or files are totally safe.